Yes, 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 yes,
Yes.
yes, yes, yes. What's up, everybody? MC Till here. Welcome to the Boom Bap Chat number 111. As
Yeah, man.
always, we have Iomas Rod here. What's up, Iomas? How are you?
Peace, man. Peace, man. Knowledge, knowledge, knowledge. All being born of wisdom. You know what I'm saying? Let's
Right
go.
on. Hey, also want to give a shout out to Profound, our other co-host who is not here because he is with his son on the football field. They have a football game every Thursday night. Profound's helping coach that team, and so we support that and want to just give a big shout out to Profound and Profound Junior out there doing their thing. And tonight, man, oh, I'm so excited. Before we introduce our guests, I do want to say big shout out to Everybody's Records here in Cincinnati. If you don't know about this store, it's a dope record store here in Cincinnati. Come see them. They have an incredible selection of tapes, CDs, vinyl, books, all kinds of stuff. And if you can't get here in person, check them out online at everybody'srecords.com. All right, the gentleman I'm going to bring to the screen. Oh, I'm so excited about our guest tonight. It is a trio. We have two of the three. One's not feeling well tonight, so we wish him well. But this trio, my goodness, they jumped on the scene with this like just super energetic album, Ambushed, and they were rocking shows all over the place. They turned heads for sure, but it was their second album that really earned them a permanent place in hip hop royalty. Their sophomore album, Gravity, was one of the better albums from an era packed with classics. I'm so excited to welcome them tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, they represent for hip hop, not the rap, y'all. They're swinging it, putting it down like no other. The Rulers. I've run out of titles to say. Yo, please join me as we welcome to the Boom Bap Chat, Lee Majors and Light of the Bush Babies.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Real claps. What's up, fellas? Welcome.
What's
What's
up?
good? What's
Man,
good?
what's up?
Happy to be
How you
here, man.
feeling?
Happy to be a
Man,
part of it.
we are so excited that you're here, and obviously we want to send love out to Mr. Man. Hope you're feeling better, Mr. Man, and hope to catch up with y'all soon. But Light and Lee Majors, man, it's an honor. I know I speak for Iomas and Profound when I say you all were huge influences on us. That Ambushed album is, like I said in the intro, a very creative, high energetic album. But then it was like y'all were like, "Yo, hold my beer, because we got something else in store." And that
Exactly.
Gravity album, man, it's just such a great album. I mean, Almas and I've been rocking it all week, getting ready for tonight, like going back
Man.
and listening to it, and like it just gets better over time. Like it's such a great album. So I definitely want to talk a lot about that album. But one of the things that people keep asking me this week to ask you all is what happened after that album between then and now? Were you all still making music on the low? Did y'all split up, get mad at each other? Did y'all like start families? What's been happening, since Gravity kind of, slowed down after the hype of Gravity? So yeah, so let's if we could start there, that'd be great.
Sure. Um, After the albums, I would say we had a falling out with Warner Brothers in regards to how we wanted to be marketed and so on. From there, we were making, music together, making some music independently. Light moved to LA. Um, Mr. Man and I stayed in Brooklyn for a while, then I moved to Florida. Light moved to Florida as well. So a lot of movement around the country, but still making music. Families, life, and everything else, all jumbled up into one, just living. Like, you wanted to add to that?
I mean, yeah, that's a you threw out the fastball on the first one. That's I can't even cover it all, man. But it's definitely music creation has always been a part of the vibe. Like, you know what I mean? We never stop writing, listening. Like, when you're a part of something that you love, it's like it stays with you. But like Lee Major mentioned in the beginning, like the label situation just definitely was not right, just like it was for a lot of our brothers. So, I think we made the wise long term life decision, you know what I mean, to kind of not just get jerked, and make
Yeah.
some other life moves.
Yeah. So it sounds like there was no internal beef. There was no squabbling, bickering among the crew. It was just life happenstance and just growing and maturing on.
Not at all. Absolutely.
Yeah. It wasn't us. It definitely wasn't us. We was young, having fun. We was brethrens. Like, we would have kept rocking forever, but you know, we were smart enough to understand we were getting jerked. You know.
Yeah. It feels like now, like during the COVID years, post COVID, maybe the age of, you know, these types of virtual, you know, interviews and whatnot. It seems like a lot of artists that you know, made music years ago and maybe haven't been in the, you know, the limelight are reemerging with more music, you know, utilizing these platforms, YouTube and media, and, you know, the streaming platforms and whatnot. Is that kind of where you are now? Like, hey, let's jump back into this and get some more music out there for people.
Well, it's all about access.
Yeah.
There's an audience for every sound, and with social media creating that opportunity to provide access to folks who like boom bap, folks who, you know, don't necessarily, well, still listen to the radio, but also listen for that hip hop. That's that '90s era hip hop stuff that they love. It isn't just us individually. There's folks that just appreciate us as fans that want to hear our music and stuff. So social media just provided that platform, and it's a great experience because it's awesome to get messages from people from Spain, from wherever, saying, hey, you know, I grew up on you guys, from Flatbush, from wherever. Hey, you know what I mean? I still listen to your records to this day. So yeah, social media has been great for providing those platforms, and then also in real life, providing those opportunities to do live shows as well.
Yeah, dope. Light, anything you want to add to that?
I mean, yeah, I think you know, when you think about it, like, the artist, the creator wants to create, wants to connect, wants to put stuff out, and the compensation portion of it is where the magic is, right? And that is a lot more readily available. There are different streams readily available for you to tap into now, which is beautiful, man. You know, we've seen it grow, right? Seen it grow over decades. So yeah, it's a blessing.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll circle back to this, but while we're here and while, you know, some people listen on the front end and back end, I just want people to know that Light, under the name Light A Fire, is on YouTube, all the streaming platforms, putting out, is it a monthly song, what you're doing now?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't, you know, I'm not gonna hold myself to, like, you know, I'm still being free with it, if you will. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to make sure that I stay consistent.
Yeah.
In this the way how things are now, you know, you want to get content out there. So we have a few in the can right now. I kind of took a couple months to step back for some traveling and family time, but you know, we're gonna start dropping again. Just keep it going. You know?
Yeah, that's dope. So I just want people to know that is out there. Because some people are like, "Yo, where's the Bush Babies?" Like, well, follow them because they're putting out music. You know, so make sure you're following them, stay up on it. So I wanna go back a little bit because a lot of people had questions this week about the Ambushed album. And before the Ambushed album, my man Roger was asking about the origins of your origin story as a crew. And I know Mr. Mann kind of pulled y'all together, but he was wondering, were y'all dancers at any point in time?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know
where he got that from.
I don't know.
He wanted to ask that. That was the different way that he earned his living.
No, you know, I mean, no, it's not, but not like that, because back then there were crews that were, you know, dancers that were MCs too, that was around Lyricist Lounge, like, you know, that it was hip hop, right? So there was people doing graffiti and rapping, there was people dancing and rapping, but no, to be direct, like, we was not dancers.
Right. Roger also was wondering about working with the young Jermaine Dupri. And what was that like?
Um, what most will be surprised to know is that it was hip hop at its essence. Here's what I mean by that. First off, we didn't just fly in our vocals. We went to the man's house and stayed at his house and worked on records. I'll put it to you this way: Jermaine whipped out the cardboard in breakdancing. Jermaine got behind the two turntables and was DJing. You know what I mean? I've seen that man in action. He's a producer, but even more so, he's hip hop. He's hip hop. And that's what really got me from working with him. I mean, it was great to see, you know?
Yeah, dope.
Absolutely.
That's dope. Cause I remember seeing you all made a cameo. I don't remember what video it was, but I know it was like a So Def. It was either the Brat. Yeah. And I was like, yo, that's the Bush Babies. I'm like, what they? I was like, that don't fit. But now hearing y'all story, I'm like, okay.
Funny thing, I used to go on tour with Brat, and I used to do Jermaine's parts when she went on tour. When he wasn't available to go.
Yeah, we had the same. We had his father's company managed us,
Right.
and then to Lee's point. But yeah, I mean, listen, people don't. Yeah, to Lee's point, man, it's a lot different sometimes than the image folks get. You know, behind the scenes, like people are, real people, man. I mean, Big was there. Big was there at that video shoot too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow.
I love all that stuff that Jermaine Dupri was doing at that time. Brad, Chris Craw, his beats were really dope. So on Ambush, that, like I said before, that album has like this very high energy type of vibe throughout for the most part. But then We Run Things almost feels like a foreshadowing of Gravity. In the sound of that song, you know? Did you know at that time, like, is that where you were headed at that time, or that just happened to be one of the songs that made the cut at that time?
There was so much that went behind Ambush to Gravity, and you're absolutely spot on correct. We Run Things was the bridge from Ambush to Gravity, and that was because in Ambush, we were really trying to find who we were. Let me tell you who we were. We were good between myself. I was a battle MC. Light was a stage performer. Life wasn't cutting no records in Jamaica before he met us. I wasn't cutting records before I met Mr. Man. Mr. Man had his hand in the industry more so than we did at all. So coming together, we were learning how to make records. We were in the studio figuring out, moving from putting a sock over the mic to going like months later into Chung King and in Daddy's house and whatever the case is, recording. So we really didn't have that understanding of what we're doing. So we were trying to put our best selves on Ambush and what we thought was hip hop at that time. When we moved into Gravity, that's when we found out who we were and we were more comfortable. That's where you hear our natural voices in Gravity. Ambush was just really us trying to figure out, okay, where do we go with this? We got this deal. We did shows together, talent shows. That's how we got together. One talent shows, but now how do we bring this to a studio and make great records?
Yeah.
Wow.
That makes a lot of sense. I was curious to know of that transformation from Ambush to Gravity. Was there any spiritual component? Oh, go ahead, Light.
Not to jump in. You said spiritual component. That wasn't where I was going, but not to cut your thoughts. So don't forget that. But
nope, I got it.
It was also production wise. We moved from the producers we were using mainly at that time to Ali Shaheed did We Run Things. So at the time, an A&R executive named Ian Alexander just came over to Warner. We connected with him. He felt our energy, and he realized that no one up there at Warner understood. So he kind of stepped in and really helped make some connections. So he was the one that brought us to Ali.
Mm.
And so, I think from there we kind of went on a path of expecting a certain level of production too. Not just like, not to say that the other producers were, but we were putting more pressure on making sure we were getting the right production.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Yeah, I was going to ask about a spiritual component, because I hear a spirituality, at least to my ears, in those albums, especially on Gravity. And I'm just curious to know, was that like something that you were actively pursuing as human beings, or is that just something that I just picked up because I'm always looking for that?
From a spiritually, I would say, in our spirit, we developed who we were as MCs and our ideology, which was being Puritans of the culture, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's what Gravity was really about being Puritans of the culture. If you listen to We Run Things, which bridge Gravity, the first lines is back in the days before I signed the line, before the baby made the rhyme. When Kane released Raw and everything was fine, before the rap industry messed with my mind. It's all about keeping hip hop pure.
Yeah.
And so spiritually, I would say, from a spiritual essence, it's really about the purity. It's about being Puritans of the culture that you represent. Because at that time, we were coming into a phase where it was starting to really dilute itself and become more so attached to money. It's funny because in that age, in the 90s, money was that root that brought people to go outside of themselves. And in this age, it's attention.
That's a good observation.
Yes,
to add to that too, I think that and you speak to him more in the future, but Mr. Man, when we first linked up, Mr. Man was like in his studies, like he was studying Arabic, he was Muslim stuff, like he was connected, and so I think a combination of, like Lee said earlier, as we went into that second album, we got more comfortable with ourselves, and just coming together as a group and understanding like what we really wanted to do. And so I think yourself, you naturally come to the forefront. So I think Mr. Man's energy came to the forefront more. And then I think there's a tying, like, when you're dealing with Caribbean culture, there's a tying ethos, vibes, a cultural tie to things of respect and honor and and the Most High, and like it permeates in the culture.
The Rasta, man.
You understand? So we always, you always are mindful of it. You know what I mean?
That's also how you get records like God Complex.
Yep, I was just going to,
Period. Because of that understanding of knowledge of self, that bleeds into the music as well.
Yeah. And I just love the fact that y'all started Gravity with the Mishballah Rahman Rahim. You know what I'm saying? Like just the way that album kicked off.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, it's like fasten your seatbelt. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like fasten your seatbelt because we about to go for a journey. Like we about to take y'all there. Yeah.
I appreciate that, man. We know it's funny when we finished it, and Lee, you tell me if you remember this, but when we finished it, like really, finished the album, did the outro, and and was taking our versions home to listen to, over the next few days, like, I think we knew, like, all right, this is what we wanted to do. You know what I mean? Like, like we felt that way. And so to fast forward how many years later to talk to, brothers like yourself, or when people reach out overseas, and, you're just constantly going on and always seeing, just different people shouting you out, it's humbling, and it's a blessing for real.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, that album stays in my rotation, bro. Like
Same.
It stays in my rotation, bro.
And I want to jump into this album more, but before we do, I do want to bring in Christopher here, who said I'm gonna let y'all finish, but Ambush is legendary.
Yeah, man. I wanted to talk about that because original, I used to play that song because I'm a drummer. So I used to practice the drums on the original, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And I actually used to like do it at shows when I used to rhyme. I used to play that drum pattern while I rhyme, you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And then that Remember We, that remix, man, that stayed in rotation for me, bro. I was like, and now I do like hip hop workshops and I play that video for young people, you know what I'm saying? Like high school, middle school. And they like, who is that? Who is that? I'm like, yo, that's the Bush Babies, bro. They're like, man, I love what they, and we do like a analysis of the lyrics of what y'all talking about. And they get it. You know what I'm saying? They get it. So I was just like, yeah, don't front on Ambush. Ambush was, Ambush has some jewels, bro.
I give you, hey Lee, I give you an insight to original since you named that record. We actually, Lee Major and I co-produced that record with Mark Batson.
Really?
If you're aware, Mark Batson, you know, is no joke. Like Mark Batson works with Dr. Dre, like, you know, he's supreme talent. Play every instrument, like, and
Arrested Development, he was part of.
Arrested Development. He worked with. He had a group called Get Set VOP. We had the same manager, and so we wanted to work together. So he came to the studio. We didn't have anything really planned. I think Lee and I had a couple records we had in mind, and we literally brought him samples and was like, "Yo, you hear that bass line? You hear them drums?
Yep, and just put it together. Kind of freestyle that whole record.
Wow.
Within an hour, 2 hours.
That's
within
dope.
an hour or 2 hours. It was a Buju record, something from a Buju record. I remember that, Lee.
Him take off. Bring
out to him this
Yep. That's where the drums. Yep.
Wow. That's dope. That's super dope.
Yeah, them drums is crazy.
Yeah. Yo, bringing in another spectator here, Antoine on YouTube said Ambush is like middle school mentality and Gravity is like high school mentality when it comes to the production and lyrics. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
I mean, he's trying to draw an analogy. I mean, it's a little reach. It's a reach, but I get what he's trying to say. There was a maturity that happened.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what we said. Right? But I think if you remember when we dropped that album, we were shelved. So we got signed off of Raw Energy, freestyling Pandakana in the park over here, over there. And then we got signed super quick, thrown into the studio, slapping records together, went over budget, didn't know what we was doing, bringing 50 friends over, ordering food for everybody. And then when we finally got it done, you're right, Lee, remember them turkey burgers for everybody. So after about 9 months, a year, like we were signed and didn't put nothing out for a year. And music moved quickly.
Mm-hmm.
When we came up, when we were being signed, Daz Effects was on fire. I remember us going to Cold Chillin', and they were, like trying to make sure they didn't miss out on us, trying to sign us because they had just lost Daz Effects. So that sound, tone, that that energy, that driving high pitch was what MCs was doing at the time. You know what I mean? If you listen to Tretch, if you listen to that, it was that tone. So we were being influenced by what it was. And then as we got into the studio and got a chance to go on the road a little and get together more as a group, then we were able to kind of do what we wanted to do.
Yeah. One thing. Go ahead, Almas.
I would say the analogy is good. The analogy is okay, but I would say it went from middle school to grad school. It went to that PhD level for that Gravity. You know what I'm saying? But that's just me. Go ahead, Tim.
I was just gonna say one thing I really like about both albums is the way that you set off both albums, because I feel like Ambushed with that short intro of just like the jungle sounds or whatever, going right into Upon the Attack, I feel like that kind of set the mood for that album. And your intro to Gravity, like bringing in Mos Def to do it, and the way he raps a little bit on it, but he's also like talking a little bit, and it's more brings you in intellectually, and the beat's a little bit more chill. That sets the tone, you know, for the rest of that album. So I feel like the beginning of both albums set different tones, but do a good job in doing so. And I know a few people wanted to know about Mos Def on that second album and how that came about, and what was it like working, you know, with the young up and coming Mos Def.
Sure. Mr. Man was the one that really introduced us to Mos Def, and it wasn't just Mos Def. It was UTD. And UTD, Mos Brother, as well as Sets, had a group out, and they was crazy. If you ever get a chance to YouTube, you get a chance to YouTube UTD, go ahead. Urban Thermodynamics, great music.
Yeah, I remember them.
So we got together and we started making. I remember the first thing we did is we made a posse joint, and from there,
who's first up the bat?
Yeah, exactly. We made a posse joint that was on like our demo, with all of us together, and then we really started to collaborate with Mos. Yasin Bey, and it was a connection. At that point, he wasn't really on a lot of the records, but we just found that connection right then and there, and he just became a part of the album. So you hear him not only there in the front, you hear him again, you hear him on SOS. You also hear him in the remix for the Love Song with De La as well. So he's all over our work.
And they're on the first album. They were supposed to be on the first album, and I don't remember what happened. And their label had cut the record. So that's another point, you know, to go back to the earlier point. Like we're not happy with stuff like that. So the second time around, we wanted to make sure, you know what I mean, that we had him plugged in on multiple joints. So, you know, I think that was some of the thinking too. And to Lee's point, like we were teenagers, man. We were all running around New York together, you know, in ciphers, and you know, Lyricist Lounge. When that first started, we were in an apartment. Mos was playing the drums. He wasn't even rapping at the time. You know, Talib was around. He wasn't even rapping that much at the time. That kind of sparked that era, and once, you know, everybody started getting on the mic, and the groups, the circles got bigger, running around New York a little more. Yeah, I mean,
that's what we did our craft, really. Lyricist Lounge, starting out.
I was just about to,
Westforth Park. If you ever been to New York, you go to Westforth Park at one time, you get into that circle, and it was the who's who from whatever borough. You was nice in your borough, you go to Westforth and you represent your borough. So we had so many different MCs that wound up, you know, getting recording deals that all used to just gang up in Westforth and just back and forth, rhyming. That's also a place where we met Mos Def as well. As like just said, and then, you know, they moved over to the other spot, I think on Frank Street or whatever, and then from there became what we know them to be today, as far as lyrics.
That's dope, because I know that's the birthplace of Supernatural. You know what I'm saying? Even though he an Indiana cat, he from Indiana, but he used to frequent that park a lot.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can remember them leaving Lyricist Lounge, Lee, 2-3 in the morning, everybody just, you know, walking on through the streets, like still keeping the freestyles going. So definitely a blessing, a blessed era.
Definitely.
So
we have some more questions from folks that submitted their questions for tonight. But before that, I want to just do a fun question here. All right, let's say Mr. Man is feeling better. The three of you are going on a road trip. All right, driving really far. All right, who's the driver in this scenario? Who's the DJ selecting the music? And who's the person impatient in the back seat saying, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" Who would be who in this scenario?
I got two answers. As far as the group, Mr. Man has always been the driver as far as the sound.
Okay.
In terms of reality, if we were actually in the car, like driving, Light is always the driver. I got some real funny driving stories with Light, but he's always the driver. I'll probably be the who are we there yet, and Mr. Man will probably be the one controlling the sounds.
Does that sound right, Light?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I want to hear one of these stories though. One of these driving stories with Light.
I'll give you a quick one. So we drive into, I think it's Pennsylvania. Was it Pennsylvania, Light?
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. We drive into Pennsylvania, and we're trying to be cheap. So instead of getting the limo, we said, you know what? Forget that. We're gonna forego the limo, and we're gonna ride down there with our partners. And you know what I mean? We're gonna keep that plus the bread for the show. So we get in the car and we driving down there, and Light and I in the car. I'm in the passenger seat, and we driving. Our other homeboy is in the back, and he's starting to fall. He's starting to get tired, but you know he's looking at me.
Ron was driving originally. Ron was driving originally, though.
What'd you say?
I said Ron was the driver originally,
Ron was driving
and then he got tired.
So he winds up, Light winds up driving, and and the only thing I remember is I saw him do like this with his hands, like, yeah. I asked him, I said, "You good?" And he said, "I'm good." And he did something like that, you know, joking. And I kind of fell out. I opened my eyes, and we were flipping over, like I don't know how many times in the middle of the highway. Trunk full of Bush Baby shirts that was spread all across 90.
Oh, snap.
And wind up going to the hospital.
Wow.
You know, we had suffered some injuries, but long story short, we had a show at Video Music Box for the art for Ralph McDaniels. I think it was his Easter party or whatever. So we had to jump on one of those charter planes, one of those propeller planes. I had an eye patch on. And we back to New York. Did the show, and I did the show with an eye patch because of Light's beautiful driving. Another time he was driving, I never forget this. We was doing some promo, and we had the door open, and we doing what we doing. We stunt whatever, not really stunt. In those days, you could actually stunt in the van. So we bugging out whatever. We had the door open. I don't know what happened, but a car came by or something happened and ripped the door right off the van. Light was driving. So we had a lot of good times, like behind the wheel.
I get to defend myself at all? Do I get to rebut? Yeah, we don't have enough time. We gotta move to commercial.
All right, yeah, we gotta move on. We have some audience questions. No, like the floor is yours, man.
Nah. I mean, listen. First of all, you know how stories go. As you tell them, they morph and they slightly change a little bit.
That's what my wife said when I tell
He looked over and I did that. He looked over and I did that. Right? I was the whole time. I'm like, yo, I'm tired, yo, y'all niggas, wake up, wake up, nigga, I'm tired, bro, yo. And we in Pennsylvania, there's nothing to even stop at, the mountain type areas. And the brethren we following is an old hustler from back in the days, and he used to them runs. He flying, but I'm trying to follow him. I would like to point out that I'm one of the artists too. I'm dead tired, brethren, from shows that everybody sleep. I was like, I'm sleeping too.
All right,
down the highway.
Wow.
Down the highway.
Moral of the story: be safe out there, and if you have the opportunity to take the limo, take the limo.
Take the limo.
Okay. All right. Right on. I do want to get in some of these questions as some good friends that follow us on social media had asked about. Our buddy Roger, who always has great insights. He wanted to just have y'all talk about your West Indian roots and that influence on your music. So wanted to know if you could share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll take it. I mean, it's like we said earlier. You know, as you get the more comfortable you are, you're gonna be yourself. You know, and
Yeah.
you grew up in a household with Caribbean parents or grandparents or like you know, and there's no way around it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and then for me personally, I went to boarding school in Jamaica, and moved back up when I was like 16. And you know, when I first came back up, I remember that my first like hip hop, real deep hip hop influence was KRS. And you know, when I came up, I hear you know, right away when I heard the bridge is over, when I heard like I hear reggae, I hear the reggae record it came from, but I hear him rapping on it, you know, but then still having some reggae cadence and flows at times. So that just opened the whole world up for me, coming from Jamaica and you know, doing little stage shows, talent shows, little you know stuff in high school. Once I came up here and saw that that was something people was digging, and you know, KRS One had displayed it. It just became a part of me personally, and then I know, you know, Brooklyn, you know, Bronx. I mean, it's you know, New York is very heavy West Indian too. So I think it was just everywhere, not only in the time, but in our homes, and just a part of us. Plus, dancehall and hip hop was like really running together, even more so than you hear now. You know what I mean? Like it was everywhere. You walk down the street on, and they got all the bootleg tapes out. They playing dancehall, they playing hip hop. You know, so yeah, I think it's not even we don't even think about it too much. It's just being yourself.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. Mas, did you have a follow up on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to know what's your thoughts, because is my mic still hot?
You're
Till
good,
we
man.
good. All right.
Yeah, you're good.
So I was wondering, this whole conversation. I don't know if y'all familiar with ADOS, like you know, the African descendant of slaves conversation, where they're trying to rewrite the narrative and say that Kool Herc was not the originator or like the forefather of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Being that he's like Caribbean descent, they're trying to say it's an African American expression that hip hop is. But for anybody who know the history, I would like to know like what are your thoughts on that? Like I know that like I'll just keep my comments to myself. I want to hear what you think about that before I say. You know what I mean? Like, what are your thoughts about that? Or have you even heard that conversation?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I've heard that conversation. And you know what plagues our thinking is that we can't have two truths happen at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what plagues our thinking. We can't have two truths at the same time. Here's the reality of it. Kool Herc was a Jamaican, and he brought Jamaican sensibilities to a culture that already existed. See, where hip hop really came from is it came from the gangs, the feel, the vibe, the flavor. It came from the gangs coming out of the violence and so on, and really actually to protect themselves against the police in that situation in the Bronx and in Brooklyn and all of those places. And hip hop came from that culture. But Kool Herc brought in the West Indian sensibilities, which created what we have now. So you can't say that West Indian culture is not part of hip hop culture. The same way in that same conversation, they say that Latinos
exactly speak on it.
Weren't a part of that. Where I know from being from Brooklyn, I'm 48 years old. Hip hop's 49 years old. Right? I'm from Brooklyn. I remember going from borough to borough battling when I used to break dance, when I had the white gloves on, when I had to pull out the cardboard. I was there. And for me, the poppers was the black dudes and the breakers, the dudes that was hitting that cardboard hard.
Was a Latino.
All those dudes was Latinos, and they was killing it.
Yeah.
And there's also DJs that were Latino and so on. So it's a mixture of all those cultures. You can't just say it's Black Americans that started.
You know what I would
Absolutely.
say to that, to add to that, man? I would ask them a question. What a blood clot you get out of that conversation?
Absolutely.
What you are trying to get out of that conversation?
Absolutely.
You want to take with somebody and take with somebody's space and big up yourself more?
Yeah.
What you gonna get from that conversation?
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, I don't. Yeah, we don't waste no time on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Because all it is causing division. In my opinion, that's what it is. It's causing division. You
But yo,
know.
for people, for a set of for a culture and a set of people who can't afford that.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Man, thank you. Cause
Yeah.
so let me know I'm on point then. Well, you know what I mean? Cause how I teach it is, if it wasn't for his mom making that decision to come, we wouldn't have, that Jamaican DJ and aesthetic that he brought from the culture of Jamaica. You know what I mean? Like the 45s and having that knowledge of records and the sound systems and all of that. Like all of that's a part of Jamaican culture, and you can't deny that. West Indian culture. You know what I'm saying? So respect on that, man. Respect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Speaking on division, there is a cat, Vincent, who is always stopping by our Facebook page. Shout out to Vincent. And he hears y'all taking jabs at the West Coast.
I saw that.
Yeah, I know you saw that. So I just wanted to see what y'all thought about that. If y'all felt like y'all were taking jabs at the West Coast.
I needed him to elaborate, and I responded to that because I was very interested.
Yeah.
And I wanted him to elaborate on where did he see that on our first or second album. Was there a particular lyric? Was there a particular song? Because our jabs were never it couldn't have been at the West Coast. Our jabs was more so, and I even commented on it. If we were jabbing at anything, it was the current state of hip hop. It was the incoming of the shiny suit era. It was, money motivated decisions.
Yeah.
Versus decisions rooted in the culture.
Right.
But it was never a West Coast thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because we was like we toured with Ahmad. We were cool. We were super cool with the Licks, Hyro. Like there was a vibe, a symbiotic vibe, East Coast, West Coast. There were cats that we saw our own reflection with, out on that coast. So it was never coastal. But I do have a Lee Major coastal story for you since we telling stories.
Let's do it.
We was out in the bay, and there was a group out there, and I think they were like a spinoff of Rapid Forte's like movement or energy or vibes, and they had a dance where they would go low. We going low, and they kind of squat down and hop around, and it was the style they were pushing, and I don't think Lee even thought about it. I don't even think he even, when you get on stage and you grab the mic, you gotta, you saying something current, you saying something to, and we out on the West Coast, and Lee didn't even think about it. He said, yo, man, we from Brooklyn, we don't go low, but we do this, and they ain't like that too much. And if you know anything about Oakland, I lived there for a short period of time.
Yeah,
if you know anything about Oakland, Oakland is West Coast Brooklyn. Oakland is West Coast Brooklyn is what I call it. Right? I used to live over there, and I know. We were coming out the spot, and definitely shots rang out. Cars screech around the corner. They was waiting for us. And our DJ, Giz, big up Giz, he had the turntables up by the head. Bussing, and we was running to the van, yo.
Wow.
I saw, listen. Yeah,
That's
be careful out there.
West Coast experience that I could really think of.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering.
I could vouch that wasn't ill intent. That wasn't ill intent. We just, we were just relating to the moment. We didn't really mean nothing by it.
Yeah.
But if you on and you got a buzz and another set of guys don't, you gotta, people's pride. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, you're getting a lot of gems tonight, people. Take the limo if you can, and be safe and be careful what you say on the West Coast.
Go low on the West Coast.
Go low.
And take the side exit or entrance. We came out the front. I don't know why we came out the front.
Yeah. That's funny. Yo, big shout out to Pat Wimbush. He has been chiming in all night. Really appreciate
Oh, he's going hard.
Yeah, he is. He going extra hard.
At
Yeah.
Woodbury. See you from Cali.
Yes, we see.
See,
Pat
there
Wimbush.
it is.
Yeah, like, there you go. Like Cube and Common squashed it. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And big shout out to Ian Charles, who is always dropping by, sharing some great knowledge. So appreciate you for being here. Fellas, I know our time is winding down here. I would love to keep talking for hours, hearing more stories. And Iron Mouse and I could talk about the album.
Man, we ain't even get into the album, bro. Like, man, Joe. Like,
so if y'all ever want to come back on the program, doors are always open. For sure. But if y'all down, we like to do this little activity at the end where we celebrate some hip hop albums that we think y'all like and appreciate. So if you're down for it, it's a little game we call One Word, where we'll show you an album cover and you just say the first word, that comes to your mind as a reflection of the album. Is that cool?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Okay. All right, the first one, we're going to take it back. A little rough, rugged, and raw right here. This is Enter the 36 Chambers by Wu-Tang.
Oh,
First
man.
word, light.
Oh, man, amazing.
Amazing. All right. Lee Majors.
Headphones.
Headphones. Yeah, I feel that.
Walk.
All right. If you had enough money or you bootlegged it or whatever, coming out that same day, Midnight Marauders by a Tribe Called Quest. Go back to the light here.
Oh man. One word. Oh man. Vibe, man.
Vibe. Yeah, I feel that. That's a good word.
I'm gonna kind of make two words come together and say inner fabric.
Inner fabric. Can you explain?
I like that.
It's part of my inner fabric.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so.
Very few records. Yo, I've never said this before. Electric Relaxation actually made me cry.
Wow.
Actually made me cry.
Wow.
What do you think it was about that song that evoked that emotion from you?
Honestly, the beat. The music. That music right there, that's soul touching.
Yeah.
That's soul touching.
Yeah.
That's soul touching. The way that whole like you said, that vibe, I literally it made to me the best representation of what that song is. To me, one of the best representations of Sonics.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. Well said. Well said.
And that video that they shot matched that. It matched
If
perfect.
you look at I Remember We cover, and you look at Electric Relaxation, and we're sitting in a diner.
Yeah.
That came from that video.
Okay.
Oh, really? Same diner?
Not same diner.
But the same idea.
Yeah, the
concept.
Okay.
Yeah,
wow, that's dope. That's super
We
dope.
run things in Electric Relaxation. It's a vibe in the back that you have to hear it. It's the sound that Tribe uses that you hear it. And we run things as well. And you also you pick up on it in Electric Relaxation. It's a beautiful record.
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry. One word.
No, you're good. We Run Things. Was that produced entirely by Ali Shaheed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if other people had their hand in it. That's a dope beat right there.
Yeah, Shaheed did his thing on that beat.
Yeah,
bro.
he did. All right, going back a little bit, we got The Great Adventures of Slick Rick.
Best ever.
For me, stories.
Story. Okay.
Story.
Yo, come on. When this dude came out, people wasn't even rapping nothing like that,
Yeah.
man.
That's true. Yeah.
People's whole timing on the beat
probably
was
one of the greatest rap stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Speaking of stories, we got some pretty decent storytelling on this one. This is Stress by Organized
Ooh,
Confusion.
you playing games, bro.
you know, my one word is family. They used to come
Family.
pick us up in the van, B, with no seats in the back.
Wow.
And we'd hop in that joint and go do shows.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Those is big brothers right there. Like they used to come out to Jersey to come get us when we moved out of New York and moved to Jersey. We got a house. They used to come out and come get us
That's
Wow.
dope.
and take us to do shows. Big brothers right there. Family. That's my word.
Family. I can't. There's no other word but family.
Do y'all still keep in touch?
Not as much, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
A little bit
I mean,
social media, but
Yeah.
they were the entryway into who we are. That song "Fudge Fudge" is another joint for me.
Yeah, man. That Fudge Pudge is crazy. I remember my older cousin played that for me, man. I almost lost my mind when I heard that.
I love that album.
Man,
Love it.
bro.
These are the records that are making what you know is rapping.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We got two more for you. We got Stakes is High by De La Soul.
You go first.
I mean, I wish I could go deep with you, but then when you show me, the first thing that comes to my mind is family, man. Like
Yeah.
these big brothers, like what they did for us. I mean, I was sitting in the studio with Paz, then hearing them, just everything they touch and everything they do, even 5, 10, 20 years, 30, solid bangers, left and right.
Yeah.
One word I would say is concept.
Mm.
If I can elaborate real quick, if you listen to the theme of gravity in regards to what we're talking about, with the shiny suit era,
Right.
that came from De La.
Yeah. Yeah. So, go ahead, Alma.
No, I don't think. I mean, yeah, I'm not. But I don't think Prince Paul did anything on it. I don't think he produced that album, right?
Oh,
That
that's
was
right.
all Paz.
Yeah,
That was all Paz and Mason. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Like,
then,
yeah,
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I did want to ask about
I believe so.
the native tongues. Did you all ever feel like y'all were members of the native tongues? Was there talk about the native tongues, or had that kind of passed when you were, linking up with them?
You know, my thought on that is we became native tongues by association.
Yeah.
I think everyone from the outside looked in and said, wow, you guys, your sound is really close. You work with, folks from the same squad. You see us with Most Def. But there was never a coronation. There wasn't some, quote unquote chain. There's no native tongues chain.
Yeah.
That was passed along, anything
No
like
ceremony.
that.
We didn't do a ceremony.
Right, just no ceremony, checkerboard floors, and
But you know what? Till you're on point. It was. If you look at the timeline, native tongues wasn't. No one was shouting native tongues at that time. They had kind of, not that they went in their own direction, but Jungle Brothers weren't making as many records, and then Tribe kind of took the lead, and they were on tour a lot. De La, we weren't really shouting native tongues. It just was an energy, a shared energy, because we made similar sounding music, and then we were the young cats coming up right after their era.
Right.
So Moni gave love, Jungle everybody gave us love. It's just that group, if you will, had kind of went in different directions. You know what I mean? They weren't running around screaming native tongues at that time.
Right. Yeah. I remember, Almas, you probably remember this. We interviewed Shorty Nomas, and she was saying how they weren't really talking about native tongues when she was recording, you know, on Balloon Mind State, De La Soul. So she never felt like she was a member because it wasn't really a thing at that time. And that's early 90s. So I kind of threw me off. I was like, oh, wow.
But you can hear it when Paz was talking, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? We all wanted our own kingdoms to rule, you know what I'm saying? Like he was, I think he was writing through that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was definitely writing through that. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes then you don't know the power of that until later. Sometimes, you know, they may not have seen the movement that it was at the time, you know?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then I think because Paz produce Love Song, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Paz. Yeah.
Paz Love Song.
Yeah.
Was that a beat he brought to you? Or was that something y'all had your hands on too?
Part of the beat tape.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
It was a couple beats, and that was one of the beats that was on that tape.
I love it.
We rode out to Long Island and brought most with us to just, you know, vibe on the record, and but we had picked that beat. So, yeah.
That's dope, man. That Gravity album, I'm sorry, man. That's a part of my, what was the word that Lee used? That's a part of my the blended word that you used. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Sorry. Go ahead, Till. Sorry, man. My bad, bro.
You're good.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What would you say are your favorite 2 songs on Gravity?
Man,
I think
it's so many, bro. Like I can't limit them to 2, bro. I just can't. Melted Plastics.
Yes.
Man, dog. SOS. What's the joint we talked about earlier?
Wax, man.
Wax, dog. Y'all went in on Wax, bro. And my other joint, MC, your mom, people call me L. Can't forget the double E, major I rock well. And 86 used to rock was with Cazelle. Man, what? Y'all blacked out on that joint. Y'all was outside y'all body on that one, bro. I'm like, dude, man, that whole album, Melting Plastics, like, come on, man. I think I mentioned that one already. I don't know, man. That album, it's like you could put that album on and clean your whole crib, bro. You know what I'm saying? No skips. Ain't no skips, bro. Like, yeah. 3 MCs with, yeah. Come on, man. That album is just solid, bro. So I can't name 2. Sorry, Lee. I just can't name 2, bro. That's a solid album through and through. Sorry. I get excited. Go ahead, Till.
3 MC and the Ruler.
Yes.
Appreciate that. Funny thing is, that person said The Ruler, which is my solo joint, but my favorite record on Gravity is Maybe.
Okay.
It's a solo joint. I love that record. To me, that record is so underrated. That's one of my favorite records on that. Is my favorite.
Yeah.
That is a dope record.
Yeah. I go with God Complex.
Yeah, that's a dope one too.
Yes.
And Knife Plantation and what's the other one? What's the name solo? Mr. Man solo joint on there. That joint go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's that joint go hard, bro. Yeah, that joint go hard.
I know his lyrics better than he do on me.
That joint that whole album, bro. Yeah. Sorry.
It's a good segue into our last album, the one word segment. Obviously, you gotta do it. Gravity by Bushwick. Light, what's your word?
Proud.
Proud. Yeah.
Wow. That's not my word. Damn, I want you. That was a good one. Like, I'd say if I can say one word, I'd say fulfilled.
Wow.
Yo, I swear to God, that was in my head. I was like, he about to say fulfilled.
Wow.
Fulfilled.
That's dope.
That's crazy.
Everything that needed to be said was said.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, man.
Very well crafted album. Great beats. Great lyrics. The whole thing, very cohesive album. Sean J. Period. Shout out to Sean J. Period.
Yeah, shout out to
Yeah,
Sean
man.
J.
Big up Sean. Big up Sean.
Yeah,
phenomenal.
man.
Mr. Man, phenomenal beats. Obviously, Pasta Noose. with
Yeah.
his beat. Yeah, it's just a great crafted album. Fellas, are you all? I feel like I heard in an interview. I think Mr. Man might have said it, but I feel like there was an allusion to that you all were making more music together as a group, or maybe I
hope
just made
so.
that up because I want it to happen. But I'm just curious to know: do y'all have plans? Have you been working on music together? Are there plans to work on music together?
Honestly, the first step was the thing that made the most sense, and that was Light.
Yeah,
Get his project out. Light and I work together. I love being in the studio with him, producing out records. I don't do the beats, but I love to get in the studio and just work. So
Yeah.
he and I work. The next step after that is to start putting some stuff together as a group.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to first do what made the most sense, and putting out
Yeah.
records for Light because of what he does. I feel it's special. I don't think anyone other than Cardinal Official really tapped into that blend of hip hop and dancehall the way that Light does.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're excellent at it. Like, is there anything you want to add about the project that you're working on right now, Light?
No, you know, and it's funny because when you say project, that's what gives me a little pause, you know, because I'm not really thinking album right now. I know back in the days we were thinking
Right.
that way, but when I see how things moving now, I think to Major's point, it was like we just want to get back to work.
Yeah.
So you know, I know it may be counterintuitive to what you see, you know, some people their approach, but I figured, yo, if we do good records, we do good work, we consistent,
Yeah.
then you know, water will find its level. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
And I know
you know.
y'all pen still sharp as ever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I already know, man.
Yes, sir.
That's dope.
Yes,
Well, I'm super glad to hear it. How do you want people to follow you on social media? Where can they find you? How would you like people to follow you?
This thing, Bush Baby. I'm sorry, Bush_babies on IG. Follow us there. Our website, bushbabies.com. Check us out there, but definitely go to IG is where you're gonna get most of the information. My IG is H Lee Majors and Light.
yeah,
Light.
and definitely, tap into the stuff I'm putting out too. Is light.a.fire, FIYAH.
Yeah.
So light.fire. So you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Right on.
yeah. Is that a play off Luther Fire?
No, Luta, you're thinking Luta Fire.
Yeah,
No,
Luther.
you know, it's you know, in the beginning, I know, you know, the name changed for a lot of people. They're like, yo, it used to be YT, then it's Light. And you know, I think when I left Jamaica and came here, Light was kind of the name that really stuck after I got here. So, and then a play on words, you know, light a fire.
Yeah.
You
No
know,
doubt.
light a fire, like
Yeah.
the fire from the lighter, or you know. So
Yeah.
it's just a play on words and an easier way to create sort of a site or a page that other people don't already have. When you try to get Light, that's gone already.
Right.
Yeah.
No
That's
doubt.
dope. That's dope. Well, go ahead, Alma.
2 more questions, then I'm gonna let y'all go. What's
you
the
good?
meaning? What's the meaning behind Bush Babies? Like, what's the meaning behind that? The name?
That's the
Flatbush.
easiest one. Flatbush.
Okay, yeah, I know.
Born and
Yeah,
raised
Bush.
Flatbush,
Yeah.
Brooklyn.
All right.
Crew was born and raised in Flatbush, Brooklyn.
No doubt. That's what's up.
Do you have another one, Almas?
Yeah, I remember in the Tribe documentary when Q-Tip was talking about how he was going into low end theory, and he was saying like people were saying like he was I don't know what y'all think. He was talking about sophomore jinx, and he's like, "What you mean? I don't even know what that is. Like, what's a sophomore jinx? I'm about to go in the studio and do low end." And you see the difference between people's instinctives to low end, and I feel like that's the same with y'all group. You know what I mean? So, and then you can see it with the Fugees. Like the Fugees at first album, nobody really, but you saw the growth from that to the score. You know what I'm saying? And Gravity is y'all score, you know what I'm saying? So I was wondering what was y'all mentality going into, you know, making that album, producing, you know, creating that masterpiece. You know what I'm saying? What was the mindset?
You want?
Yeah, I'll start it. I mean, I think some of what we said earlier applies. Like, you know, when you're on West Fork Park, you broke kids in the hood running around. They snatch you up, give you a deal. You know, they want a return on investment, right? So you got months, you got 6 months, 3 months. That's not really a lot of time to develop a youth, you know, and let him see
Yeah.
certain things or understand certain things. So it wasn't a developing thing for a lot of us in that time. You know, it was more of a snatch them off the street, throw it against the wall, see if it stick.
Right.
And if it stick, then you get pushed. You know, I think I mentioned Ian Alexander. He was someone that came to the table and saw that they didn't get us and started like repping for us. You know, when you look at the Fugees, you know, obviously they had the same thing happen for them at Columbia when you know when the execs got behind their project and understood some of the values. So at first they don't get you, you make a little noise, and then hopefully somebody starts waving a flag for you, and you yourself, to answer your question more directly, yo, we went through that time of seeing that, yo, they don't get it, they don't care, yo, they just throwing stuff out there. And we huddled up and put our heads together and started, you know, really honing in and understanding what was happening, not bringing people to the studio, chasing the A&R out the studio, just locking in.
Yeah.
And you know, and understanding that we weren't going to be developed or supported by anybody outside of the three of us, or a producer that could connect with us.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of what you were seeing or feeling or hearing too. We were, like I said, we went over budget, man. Went over budget. Everything was just very, and the second time around, we learned from all those lessons, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
dope.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, man.
Well, fellas, thank you for your time tonight. We always end giving shout outs. So we'll give a few and then we'll turn it over to you guys to give the final shout outs if that's cool.
Yeah, man.
All right, right on. I don't really have too many shout outs tonight,
Me
except
either,
for
man.
everyone that's been following. Pat Winbush, man, thank you for all your comments tonight. Really appreciate it. Antoine has been chiming in. Appreciate you as well. My man Kaz Meta, I saw you out there earlier. So everyone that's just been tuning in and been following what we do, really appreciate you. And just want to shout out Mr. Man, of course, who couldn't make it tonight, feeling a little bit under the weather. And to Light, Lee Majors, the Bush Babies, you know, just thank you for, you know, what you've given us, the inspiration you've given us. And very excited to hear that you are putting out music and putting in more work. Very excited about that. So yeah, shout out to you guys, and I'll turn it over to Io Moss for his shout outs.
Yeah, man. Like you, I don't have too many shout outs, man. But I'll shout out everybody that was in the room that chatted, and I'm just blessed, man. I never in a million years thought I'd be having a conversation with the Bush Babies, man. Like, I swear, like, y'all brothers mean so much to me, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? During times I was in Chicago, man, just like trying to figure it out. And I remember I was just getting a ride home from someplace with my guy, and he popped that CD in. I was like, yo, who is that? He's like, that's the Bush Band. I was like, yo, I never knew they put out a second album, bro. Like, I didn't even know. And the next day I went to the record store and got my copy, and I played it for life. I'm not going to say to death. I played it for life because it gave me so much life, man. So my shout outs is to y'all brothers, man. Thank y'all, man. Y'all are amazing. And looking forward to hearing what y'all come out with. And just know, man, that y'all we recognize y'all, and we recognize y'all as our teachers. You know what I'm saying? Y'all helped us to develop. You know what I'm saying? I'm still trying to create an album that can even stand the test of time over Gravity. You know what I'm saying? So respect, man. And thank y'all for taking the time to be on our podcast, man. So salute, respect, and bless up, man. For real, man. Bless up, man. Thank y'all. Thank y'all, man.
And with that, we'll turn it over to you guys.
Like,
yeah, I mean, I think my first thing would be thank you to both of y'all, man. You know, because you know that energy that y'all giving is honored and respected too, man. And you know, just you know, I heard you mention like us being teachers. You know, just understand like it's this thing that we love together. You know what I'm saying? It's not, you know, I have OGs and people that you know that I looked up to and paid attention to and mimicked at times, and you know what I mean, and was inspired by. So I'm honored that you even say something like that, you know. And I think you know, shout out to the people that are tapped in, listening, you know, commenting, and man, yo, we appreciate y'all.
Word. Shout out to everyone. I've been looking at the comments as we talk, so I want to shout out everyone from Pat Wimbush to Grandy Fag Erklock. I've seen that person chime in a couple times as well. So just big up everybody that's been putting, you know, adding those comments. Big up Mr. Man. I just wanted to say this because I think it's important. I love and appreciate y'all, both of you guys' love for hip hop, not just Bush Babies, but love for hip hop. I can tell, and let me tell you, your fans, the people that are listening to you, can tell the difference from folks who come to an interview with the real love for the music, that are not just stating Wikipedia facts, but are actually talking about their own personal feelings for the music, and in an intellectual capacity being able to describe how they feel in a way where it's not just, yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? I love that word, that's dope. Throw it out a bunch of catchphrases, but actually have insight to display, you know, how they feel about things in a way that, you know, people can gravitate to. So I appreciate you guys, just the type of interview that you guys conduct. You know what I mean? From the heart. That's love. I see y'all passion in the music, and I respect that. Not just Bush Babies, just hip hop in general. So I already subscribed to y'all page.
Oh, right on.
I'm here to, after we shut this off, I'm here to be a fan of y'all.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Man, that's love, bro.
That is,
dang,
man.
Dog. I don't even know what to say after that, bro.
I know, it's speechless.
Man, G. Man, that's love, bro.
Real respect.
It's real. Yeah, real recognized real, man.
And whenever y'all want to sit down and just talk hip hop, man, I love those conversations, especially when it's with folks like y'all who come from the same heart for the music.
Yeah.
Hey, I do a lot of workshops with youth, and so if we can stay in tune, I would love to have y'all, like, you know, zoom in or like share y'all stories, man. Yeah. Okay. Word. Definitely.
Check your schedule. Just check your schedule, man, and we'll make it work.
Yeah. I would love to have, because they need to hear. They need to know the history. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm big on, like trying to show them a different side, like what you may be missing. Like, don't just think it's the current. It's a foundation that these current artists are walking on, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Standing on the shoulders of other artists. So let me introduce you to those artists that you may not have heard of before, you know what I mean? So I would love.
You're doing the right thing. That's what we mean. They're not supposed to just know. Yeah. We're supposed to guide them. So you're doing the good work, man. So we here to support that. Whatever you need.
Man, respect.
Yeah, thank you. Right on. Well, thank you both, fellas. And as always, on that note, we say peace. Peace.